this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
No one knows what the future holds, but you deserve a weather app that can help. WeatherBug is easy to use and provides forecasts for your every need, from storm warnings to pollen levels, right at your fingertips. Get the fastest local alerts and comprehensive 10-day forecasts wherever you are. Its hyperlocal, real-time customizable alerts make sure the weather never takes you by surprise, so you can plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store today and start getting accurate weather forecasts 24/7.
Welcome back in. Hour number 2, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton show. Reminder, as we have been talking about, today is primary day in the great state of Texas, also in Arkansas and in North Carolina, the very first primaries for the 2026 election cycle. Why does that matter? Well, all of you should go vote and make sure that you get the best possible nominees across every state, but certainly in those 3 states in particular where the voting is going on right now. We will have results to talk about tomorrow. You just heard from Congressman Wesley Hunt, one of the 3 primary contenders, running alongside of Ken Paxton and John Cornyn for the Republican nomination in the state of Texas. On the Democrat side, Jasmine Crockett, James Tallarico, one of those likely to win. We may have runoffs in May. If nobody gets to 50%, we are going to continue to track that story during the course of the day. Obviously, Iran and the fallout of what is going on there remains paramount in terms of the overall interest and attention. We should mention, by the way, that Senator Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma also going to join us in the third hour, and maybe our friend Congressman Chip Roy, who is running for the Attorney General of Texas. He may give us a buzz before he's in the air right now. But before the show ends, he wanted to reach out and make his case for AG, just FYI. But Buck, I wanted to play this. This was Trey Yingst, who is doing, let me just say, I don't know how much you're watching Fox News, but the amount of incredible coverage that Trey Yingst is giving us from inside of Israel, where you can see during his broadcast legitimately the bombs that are coming in. Tel Aviv is on a watch right now, but you'll see him reacting to as the bombs are hitting, going in and out of the bomb shelters. Many people all throughout Israel are doing. He reported a little bit earlier today, right before we came on air, that the Iranian Supreme Council was counting votes to elect a new leader when Israel struck the meeting location. Here is that report, cut 29.
I'm told by a senior Israeli official that the Israelis just struck the Supreme Council gathering where the Iranians were meeting to choose a new supreme leader. This is a significant development and again speaks to the Israeli intelligence about this war. They just targeted the meeting in Tehran where what's left of the leadership was gathering to choose a new supreme leader.
I don't know about you, Buck, but if I were in Iran right now and I was told to go to a meeting that involved high-level Iranian officials, I think I might have a stomachache. Or I might say, hey, maybe we could do this by phone. I can't believe that they are still showing up in person and allowing these kind of attacks to happen. I mean, it feels suicidal in nature. I mean, you're a CIA guy, but I don't think you have to be a CIA guy at this point in time in Iran to say, hey, maybe big gatherings not necessarily something we should be doing.
Well, they're in a tough spot because if you can't gather and you can't decide who's in charge, how can you be in charge? And this is increasingly going to be the problem that the mullahocracy faces over there. Who is really calling the shots? If you can't secure your own airspace enough to prevent the enemy, in this case us and Israel, from blowing up essentially anyone anywhere they want at any time, it reminds me of Bane in the Dark Knight Rises or whatever, when he goes,
such a good movie.
Do you feel in charge? And that's a chilling moment if you remember what happens there. And this gives you power over me. That is pretty much where the Iranian leadership is right now. Do they feel in charge? Because they're not. I am hopeful that there is some burgeoning resistance movement within Iran that is going to come together. But this stuff is very hard, Clay. I mean, you look at what happened with Assad in Syria. There were various uprisings against the Assad regime before the huge Syrian civil war in which hundreds of thousands of people died starting around 2012. And the thing about despotic, tyrannical police state regimes is they're really good at being police state despotisms that stay in power. That's their primary focus. And they have a lot of contingency plans in place. And the whole system that they have is first and foremost concerned with that, not with a constitution or legitimacy or the welfare of the people or any such thing. It's how do we stay in charge? So when that is your maniacal focus, it takes a lot to knock a regime off that pedestal and to finally allow for there to be a different paradigm of leadership. But I'm hopeful. That much I can say. But we own their skies. I mean, all that stuff, they're going to have Russian surface to air missile technology and they're going to have, no, actually we own their sky. We can blow up Trump can blow up anyone, anywhere he wants to in Iran right now, which you would think also gives you a lot of leverage.
I think it seems quite clear to me that we are just going to keep killing Iranian leaders until we reach a point, that somebody is workable. And I'm going to be honest with you, Buck. I kind of feel like whoever ends up in charge of Iran may be a Mossad guy, meaning he has been working with Mossad for some time.
That's a little extreme, Clay.
No, I don't.
All of a sudden, the next Ayatollah's name is Shlomo.
No. I don't mean that he is Jewish or from Israel. I mean that he has been working with Israel behind the scenes, providing information. Have you seen all the stuff, by the way? Israel reportedly hacked the cameras, the traffic lights.
Traffic cameras, yeah.
So that they were aware constantly of where everybody was traveling in Iran. I mean, the degree of knowledge that they had inside of Iran is incredible. My point on this is I actually think we probably have a list of guys that we think we could work with in Iran. And I don't know how far down the list they are. But I feel like at some point Israel is going to have, and by extension the United States is going to have a good relationship with one of these guys. And we're basically looking for our version of Delcy Rodriguez, who is the Venezuelan leader that is in charge after Maduro left, that is going to be amenable to working for American interest, if that makes sense. So we'll see exactly how this shakes out, but I don't see any way when we have air superiority like this, to your point, I don't see any way that Iran is going to be capable of picking a leader who has any sort of staying power, given our ability with the United States and Israel to know everything that's going on in their country and be wiping people out. Every time they announce somebody new, it's like, what was the job, Al-Qaeda number 2? Like that basically as soon as you got named number 2 position of Al-Qaeda, you got almost wiped out. Almost to the point where the press releases announcing the new guys in charge have barely gone out before they're already dead. That is the reality of what's going on.
I also think, Clay, that there's something that Trump didn't. He hasn't necessarily given us the full details on this, and maybe he won't because of concerns over sources and methods and classified information. But it seems like something sparked this with him, something recent. And maybe it was the reports about the negotiating position of the Iranians recently dealing with Witkoff, where they essentially said, we got enough to get a whole bunch of nukes, and that's now the new reality. Deal with it. You know, we're not changing this. But maybe there was something else. This is cut 30. Here Trump is saying that if we didn't do something, we were heading toward a nuclear war, a nuclear exchange. Play 30.
A big factor in this world and future factor is what we're doing right now with Iran. If If we don't stop them, or if we didn't stop them, or if we didn't start, they've been decimated. But if we didn't do what we're doing right now, you would have had a nuclear war, and they would have taken out many countries, because you know what? They're sick people. They're mentally ill, sick people. They're angry. They're crazy. They're sick.
We have Witkoff's cut, actually, where he talks about this. I think we should play this for everybody. This is cut 7, where Steve Witkoff, as part of his negotiations with the Iranians, listen to what he learned from the Iranian side of the table. Play 7.
In that first meeting, both the Iranian negotiators said to us directly, with no shame, that they controlled 460 kilograms of 60%, and they're aware that that could make 11 nuclear bombs, and that was the beginning of their negotiating stance. So they were proud of it. They were proud that they had evaded all sorts of oversight protocols to get to a place where they could deliver 11 nuclear bombs.
Seems like they told them, we're cheating and you can't stop us. And Trump was like, but I can.
I think, Buck, that one way to describe this might be by saying they think darkness is their ally, but in reality, they've merely adopted the darkness, and we, in fact, were born in it, molded by it. One of the all-time great lines that I've just altered a bit for people out there. But it does come back to what I think is the ultimate question now. I think we are accelerating rapidly towards a resolution under which there is a new leader of Iran that the United States and Israel approve of. The question that will then exist is, how stable is that new leader, right? How much power does he have internally? And the second part of that, I think, will be, how reliable is that relationship that the United States has with whoever that leader is? And I think this is significant. The reason they elevated Delcy Rodriguez was they didn't think the military was willing to turn entirely on the Maduro regime. And so they weren't going to be able to just pluck the Maria, Menudo, it's the wrong word, but Maria Tate, whatever the woman who, was theoretically the democratically elected leader. The military was going to oppose her. And so they made a choice. This is not the most ideal option, but it is the best option given the circumstances. Who is the best option given the circumstances right now inside of Iran? And how many people do we have to kill? Frankly, there's a report that there were 88 people that were involved in that assembly of experts. That was basically the conclave of former experts that we just wiped out. Who even makes the decision now? If we've killed 49 high-ranking people before this, if we just hit an assembly of experts of 88, you got to figure that dozens of those people are dead. If you look at that footage of that building, it doesn't seem very likely that very many people survived. Certainly very few people, if any, would have survived and not been severely injured. So who actually has authority in Iran, and who has the authority such that the military, particularly the high-ranking aspects of the military, would listen to them? I'm sure that's a major calculation going on, which is why I come back to, again, it feels to me like Israel knows and the United States knows who they can work with. When will we get to the positions where those people we could work with are elevated? And I don't think it's going to take that long, honestly. But, I mean, if we have complete air superiority, and if we are continuing to wipe out all their leadership, and every single hour they have less ability to be able to send their drones or their missiles to hit other places, what does Iran have left? I just don't see how this could go on that long, given what's already happened just since Saturday. That's my take.
And look, sometimes when you start off with groups or individuals that you're going to work with, it doesn't end up going your way anyway. So maybe having it come together. I'm just saying, you look at Afghanistan, we had the Northern Alliance. We had, although they recognized the key leader in the Northern Alliance was Ahmad Shah Massoud, and they killed Massoud pretending to be journalists. Al-Qaeda killed Massoud right before 9/11. I think maybe even a day or two before 9/11, because they were concerned that he would be a threat to them afterwards. What would be our first call? Go to Massoud, right? We would want to work with him in the Northern Alliance, so they killed him. But then we did work with the Northern Alliance pretty effectively, and our special forces and CIA worked very well in the weeks after the 9/11 attack, but we didn't win in Afghanistan. So there's no guarantees with any of this.
No doubt. And we'll continue to break all this down for you. But in the meantime, I want to tell you all about our friends at Legacy Box. If you're trying to preserve your family's memories, and you know that maybe your family's memories right now, they're stored in an attic, or they're stored in a garage, or they're with an elderly family member, and you're not sure what might happen if something happened to that elderly family member. You can go right now to legacybox.com and you can get hooked up. Use my name, Clay, with the best possible deal out there. No matter what might be going on, you can ensure that your family's history is preserved for as long into the future as we have digital files, which hopefully is a very, very long time indeed. I've seen the work these guys do. They built a fantastic company based right here in my home state of Tennessee. I walked through their factory in Chattanooga. I saw underway the process of preserving all the family memories out there, the photos, the film reels, the VHS tapes. In fact, they probably have in Legacy Box's factory right now the largest collection of VCRs. If you remember back in the day in the 80s and the 90s, I walked through this place. I couldn't believe it was like going into a time warp and seeing all those old VCRs. They are using all that because your VHS tapes disintegrate. They're not made to last for a long time. Don't let your family's history fade away. Don't let your family's legacy vanish. Go online to legacybox.com/Clay for 50% off right now. That's legacybox.com/Clay, legacybox.com/CLAY.
Want to be in the know when you're on the go? The Team 47 Podcast. Trump highlights from the week. Sundays at noon Eastern in the Clay and Buck podcast feed. Find it on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
No one knows what the future holds, but you deserve a weather app that can help. WeatherBug is easy to use and provides forecasts for your every need, from storm warnings to pollen levels, right at your fingertips. Get the fastest local alerts and comprehensive 10-day forecasts wherever you are. Its hyper-local, real-time customizable alerts make sure the weather never takes you by surprise, so you can plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store today and start getting accurate weather forecasts 24/7.
Welcome back in here to Clay and Buck. Congressman Wesley Hunt is with us right now. Congressman, you are running in a very important primary in Texas for the Senate seat, and we want you to be, we invited all the top contenders on. You are here with us now. I think for some of the audience, not our Texas audience, but it might be one of the first times that they are hearing from you. Why? Let's just jump into it. It's election time in Texas, or primary time in Texas. Why are you the guy?
I am the guy because I believe it is time for the next generation of leadership to step into the future and lead the great state of Texas and lead this country. I am a West Point graduate. I flew 55 combat air missions in Baghdad as an Apache helicopter pilot. I am a war fighter. Both my brother, sister, and I all went to and graduated from West Point. There's 60 years worth of military service just in my immediate family. And it is that kind of mentality that I believe we need leading us to the future. That service mentality, the idea of putting the American public first. And I got to tell you something else, too. The United States Senate is not a retirement community. It is time for the next next generation to step in. I look at John Cornyn, who has been around for 24 years. That is long enough. My part of my campaign is to run on term limits, 2 terms, 12 years. That is enough. I have a 7, a 5, and a 3-year-old at my house. I want to get home and raise them as they get older. But first of all, I want to give the best years of my life back to my country. We live in the greatest country in the world. And what I've realized is that as a war fighter, and I've literally been shot at, I've been taking a lot of hits online, taking a lot of hits on TV. But it means we are right over the target zone and we are a threat. And I know the people of Texas are going to make sure that we finish up strong and term limit a 24-year incumbent.
You've been on with us before, Congressman. Appreciate the time. And I was watching with you this week. You talked and did an interview with Stephen A. Smith, and you went after Gavin Newsom, and I loved it, over his comments I believe he made in Atlanta, where he said, hey, I'm a 960 SAT guy. For people who did not hear what you said about Gavin Newsom, what was your reaction when you saw that clip? And, basically he said, I can't read a book. I'm just like you.
It's the idea of benevolent white liberals are some of the most racist people I've ever seen in my life. I call that the soft bigotry of low expectations. This is literally what they think about us. Not only do they think that we can't read and we can't do well on our SAT, they also think that we are too stupid to have an ID to vote. That's what this whole thing is about. They think so little of people of color and black and brown people that they have to pander to us in the same way that Hillary Clinton walked around with her hot sauce, in the same way that Joe Biden said, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. All of their issues are put on full display. And I hate to break it to people, that is not the Republican Party that I'm a part of today. I represent a white majority district and a suburb of Houston, Texas, that President Trump would have won by 20 points, and I won by 25 points. I have the honor of running for the United States Senate, and we are trending in the top 3 no matter what when this day ends. A black man that's in his early 40s, that is the great grandson of a man who was born on a plantation, running as a conservative, is being judged not by the color of his skin, but by the content of his character. And that is just not the Democrat Party. So I took huge offense to what he said, because again, I call it the soft bigotry of low expectations. And I'm here to tell him that as a family that had 3 West Pointers in one house, my brother earned his master's degree from Harvard Business School. I earned 3 master's degrees from Cornell University. I'm here to tell you, we don't fit that mold. We believe in excellence, not just for black people, but for all Americans. I am sick of the division along racial lines from the left.
We're speaking to Congressman Wesley Hunt, and he is running for that open Senate seat now in this great state of Texas. And Congressman, or the one that's up for grabs, I should say. Congressman, appreciate very much you being here with us. Obviously, you have a military background. You've been talking about that. Service to the nation. It's very early, and so I'm not asking for you to solve the situation in Iran. But as somebody who has been downrange, who has had the bullets flying in both directions, I wanted your thoughts on how you're viewing what's going on right now with the ongoing air campaign, the Trump administration deciding the red line had been crossed. Time to bring the fight to the malocracy in Tehran.
This is the definition of peace through strength. We now have a president who is in charge. When you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. When a red line is drawn, and I think they got the hint last year when we bombed them and ridded their ability to have a nuclear weapon, and then they never listened. They continued on their path. They continued on the path of funding terror. They depended on their path of hurting our allies, and guess what? The red line is now you get pallets of missiles, not pallets of cash. That is the difference between this administration and Barack Obama, and certainly Joe Biden, who wouldn't have any idea what was going on. Peace through strength is this. It doesn't mean that we do nothing. What it means is that when it is time to posture, when it is time to attack, and when it is time to be strategic in the way in which we do it, we must do it to keep our allies and to keep us safe. My heart goes out, and I prayed for these soldiers last night that did not make it home. I prayed for them because I know what it feels like, and I've been there. But also, I will tell you, that's what we signed up for. If we're in harm's way, sometimes it does mean our lives. But what I loved about what Pete Hegseth said yesterday was this: ignore the left. This is not World War III. This is a strategic move to weaken them and not allow them to harm us or harm other nations. And also, they crossed the red line, and these are the consequences. President Trump has always campaigned on and talked about not getting into more endless wars that cost us $3 trillion, our sons and daughters' lives, and of course, 10 years. He doesn't want to do that. He never will. But we also have to ensure that we are respected across the world.
When you look at your state of Texas, you're talking about your background. I think it's a really compelling story and your service for the country. But I think also your age is important here, because what we saw in 2024 is a lot of men, and I know women, a lot of women out there listening too, but a lot of men, white, black, Asian, and Hispanic, are just over the cultural BS that the Democrat Party is putting out. Your candidacy, I think, is an important marker of that. But just speaking as a normal guy, how often are you traveling around in Texas and just meeting people who are not particularly political, but the cultural issues of the Democrat Party, men and women's sports, the effeminate nature, frankly, of the party itself? A lot of dudes of all backgrounds, particularly younger guys, are just saying, yeah, this is not for me. I'm out.
Yeah, we are finding out that common sense is not so common. And that's a great point, especially young men that I have seen as I have traveled all over this state. I've done over 50 stops all over Texas over the course of the past few months. It's been incredible to see just all people, different races, religions, colors, and creeds that are actually coming toward the side of common sense. You are exactly right. We are dealing with people that cannot tell you the difference between a man and a woman. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And if you can't come up with that simple reason and rationale, if you don't understand the difference between a man and a woman, then I don't want to hear anything about your thoughts and feelings on policy. And look, they talk about guys like me and toxic masculinity. Well, I'll tell you what about toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity is why this country exists. You see, there are brave men that stormed the beaches of Normandy into a barrage of machine gun fire to ensure that the entire world didn't speak German. That's called toxic masculinity. And we need more of it in this country. We need men to be men. We need women to be women. And look, I'm the kind of guy, and I got 3 babies. I got 2 little girls and a little boy. And I know how I am raising them. I'm raising them in the ways of Christ. We know the difference between a man and a woman, but we also understand that we have to respect one another and respect each other's strengths and weaknesses, but also understand that there is a construct here. And that construct of knowing when it's time to be a real man is exactly what the Republican Party stands for. And quite frankly, it's why President Trump was reelected. You don't have to question that. You don't have to question President Trump's masculinity. You don't have to question Marco Rubio's or J.D. Vance's masculinity. These are strong men. And also Susie Wiles, who is the chief of staff, is a strong woman who I also know well. At the end of the day, we need to have common sense. And the cultural wars, the division along racial lines, the division along gender ideology. Also here in Texas, we're dealing with the Islamification of Texas and understanding that this is America. And by the way, you can have whatever religion that you want to celebrate and you want to use in your own home, but you don't get to move to a place, start up your own enclave, and then live under Sharia law. We have our own constitution and our own set of laws. I am the person that's saying that's got to stop. We are not going to do that because when you come to our country, you must assimilate to our laws and our rules, just like we have to assimilate to another country's laws and rules when we go visit them or we go live in their country. These things are common sense. And this is what the Republican Party stands for today. This is my platform. And what I really hope is that people continue to see just how crazy the left is. And as long as they continue to behave this way, we're going to continue to win elections.
Speaking of Congressman Wesley Hunt, he's running for Senate in Texas. You were just talking about the crazy left. Let's talk a little more about the crazy left. There are some Democrats who, if you were to come through this primary, you would be facing one of them. It would be either Tallarico or Crockett, from what I can gather. What do you make of it? Which matchup do you prefer? But what does it also tell the people of Texas that those are the options the Democrat Party puts forward?
Well, it's looking. My guess is, if I had to guess, it's looking like it's going to be James Tallarico. But please know that I would much rather Jasmine Crockett. Quite frankly, I would dream of debating her here in Texas. I think that would be hilarious. You have 2 black people that are roughly the same age, and one has one vision of America in Texas, and I certainly have a different vision of America in Texas. One is a victim. I am a victor. I want to talk about how amazing this country is and talk about our progress. And those two are the kinds of candidates that want to take this country backwards. All they run on is race, all they run on is division, and all they run on is some of this nonsensical, non-common sense stuff that we were just talking about regarding the difference between a man and a woman and men playing in women's sports and not understanding what it means to be an American and keeping our culture intact. And so I got in this race here in Texas because I wanted to give the people of Texas an option. I wanted to give them an option of somebody who was young, who believes in term limits, who is a combat veteran, who was the first person in the country to endorse President Trump this last cycle. I was one of his top surrogates when he was running in the most consequential election of our lifetime. I could win this primary, and I could win the general against Jasmine Crockett or James Tallarico without there being really any issues. I'm already outperforming both Ken and John head-to-head against either one of them because the matchup between me and them is a nightmare matchup for the Democrat Party? What do they say when someone like Wesley Hunt comes out of the Republican primary? Someone who believes in this country, loves this country, is black, is a combat veteran, is a believer in Christ, most importantly. What do they say about me? How are they possibly going to attack me? And I got this race because I wanted to give the people of Texas an option. And win, lose, or draw, I am always a winner because I am a believer in Christ. But today, I really do pray and hope that the people of Texas get out, get this right. At a minimum, we term limit a 24-year incumbent who is a Bush-era Lincoln Project Republican that's been around for way too long. It is time to move on, and it's time for the next generation of leadership to step up.
And the expectation, last question for you, and we know you're busy. Again, everybody out there in Texas, get out and vote. Today is primary day. Is that there will be 2 advance from the Republican Senate race. It's going to be hard for somebody to get over 50%. Do you expect to be one of those 2 when the ballots are finally counted at the end of the day?
Hey, sir, I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe that. Number 1 is going to be Ken Paxton. General Paxton is going to finish in first place. So this is about who finishes in second. Is it going to be me or is it going to be John Cornyn? I got in this race because I actually wanted to give the people of Texas a choice between 2 real conservatives. And if it ends up being General Paxton, that's fine. At least we know how he votes, and he is not going to vote with the uniparty. That's the end of discussion. So I do believe that I'm going to finish in second place to have a runoff with Ken Paxton. We could have a healthy, spirited debate. But the good thing is you know that you're going to have 2 people that have a Liberty score higher than 54%, like John Cornyn.
Thank you for the time, sir. Appreciate the campaign, and we'll watch and see what the results are. I'm sure we'll have you again on sometime soon.
God bless you, brother. Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
That's Congressman Wesley Hunt, one of the 3 big contenders in the Republican Senate race going on today in Texas. We're going to get the first real verdict on the 2026 campaigns here in, about 8 hours. We're going to start getting those. Look, our family moved into a new house a couple of months ago, came with a new roof. Not something you have to think about every day, buying a new roof. That happens, every 12, 15 years? Not anymore. If you're replacing your roof this year with the help of Erie Home, you'll get a roof with a 50-year warranty, one that's transferable. Erie Home is a 50-year-old company specializing in making sure the roof on your house is in excellent shape. Erie Home is eager to make sure your roof protects your most expensive purchase, your home, with a free inspection this spring. Take advantage of their offer. They'll inspect your roof for any problems free of charge. 25-point inspection they've developed over many years in business. If your roof needs replacement, Erie Home offers all kinds of options, including newer metal materials made to mimic the look of the roof you likely have now that will last infinitely longer. In fact, 2 or 3 times longer. Your new roof from Erie Home comes with a 50-year transferable warranty. Schedule your free inspection at eriehome.com/clay today for up to 50% off installations. That's Erie Home, ERIE home.com/clay. 50% off plus an amazing opportunity here. New roofing installations only. Minimum purchase required. Restrictions apply. That's eriehome.com/clay, ERIE home.com/clay.
Patriots, radio hosts, a couple of regular guys. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, third hour of Clay and Buck kicks off now, and we're joined by Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma. Senator, good to have you back on the program.
Hey, brother, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Obviously, a lot of people caught between feelings of ebullience, maybe relief that a lot of very bad people in Iran have been taken off the chessboard, but there's also concern about where this goes and the next steps. You are a veteran. You understand war. What do you make of what we're seeing so far, the Trump administration decision to go in alongside Israeli forces and take out these targets? What are you seeing, and how do you think this should play out?
Well, first of all, let me clarify. I did special assignments outside of DOD, now DOW. I never wore the uniform or the flag on my shirt.
Pardon me. Go ahead.
I've been in the same area, but two totally. The guys that signed the contract I got to work alongside of those guys, and they're phenomenal individuals. so. I think with with where we moved today, that people that think this is another Iraq is just not understanding. That's not even close to where we're at. They think that's another Afghanistan. That's not even close to where we're at. We're not hunting for Saddam Hussein. We're not hunting for for Osama bin Laden. That hunt ended within an hour. What we're doing is getting rid of a regime that's been hunting us for 47 years. This regime has attacked us since November of 1979 all the way up to the last attack of June of 2005. They have killed or injured thousands of Americans, and they have chanted death to America and declared war on us a long time ago. This is the President Trump, though, is the first president out of the last 7 to actually stand up and say, we're going to eliminate this threat. We're not going to allow them to continue to build their arsenal, to continue to attack our assets, and one day possibly have the ability to attack us here on the homeland, because it wouldn't be a matter of if, it'd be a matter of when. This is a regime that's been, the number one sponsor of terror around the world, and their biggest target has been us. And why diplomacy, the president tried diplomacy. I mean, during the 12-day war, he was very clear. He came out and said, listen, we've destroyed your nuclear capability. We know where you're at. If we wanted to take you out, we would. But now we just ask that you, I'm paraphrasing this, now we ask that you don't rebuild it. They decided to start rebuilding it. And then just recently, the information that's now open source, during the negotiations, which some of us was already aware of this, but Wickoff put it out publicly, that they said they had enough enriched uranium to make 11 nuclear bombs. That made the threat even more deadly, and the president had his assets in the area. He had worked with General Kane and Secretary Hegseth to have assets available, and when the target finally presented itself, we went and eliminated the threat and continue to eliminate the threat today. So this isn't Iraq. This isn't Afghanistan. This is going after the terrorist organization that has been there for a long time, and make it very clear, we're not at war with Iraq. We're not at war with the Iranian people. We want a relationship with them. This is to eliminate the threat that continued to come after us for 47 years.
We're talking to Senator Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma. One of the things, as I'm sure you well know, that politicians get criticized for is only being concerned with the next election. President Trump doesn't have a next election. It would be easy. Right. It would be super easy for him to have just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to do enough so that Iran is not an issue for the rest of my term, but I'm just going to kick the can down the road and leave it to whomever my successor is to potentially deal with it. President Trump seems to me, and I'm curious because you spend quite a bit of time with him, talk to him quite a lot, to have decided that he's going to do everything in his power, whether it's build a new ballroom or get a new leader in Iran, to solve issues for the next 20, 40, 60 years. Isn't that incredibly commendable and actually rare for an American president to be doing?
That's right. The president says, why are we waiting? Why do we keep putting tomorrow when we can do something today? And that's where he's at. He's like, I'm not going to continue to deal with these problems that's been there forever. I mean, you think about it. People question me when I said 7 presidents, but think about this. You had Carter, you had Reagan, you had Bush, you had Clinton, you had Bush, you had Obama, and you had Biden. Every single one of these had an opportunity to deal with this threat, and they chose not to. Even Maduro, you had Obama, you had and you had Biden that could have dealt with that threat. They chose not to. The president is like, why do this? At some point, someone's got to do something with this threat, and with the Ayatollah, he did it. And yet the Democrats are upset because they can't deny that they have killed thousands and injured thousands of Americans for 47 years. They can't deny that they've declared war on us. They can't deny the fact that they sponsored the war on terror, which we're their number one target. They can't deny that. The only thing they're upset about is that the president supposedly did something illegal or supposedly did something unconstitutional, but that's their go-to because they can't name specifics. Because these same Democrats didn't complain about Obama when he dropped 26,000 bombs in 2016 alone and bombed 6 different countries. They're just upset that the president's having any type of success. And at this point, you can't reason with crazy. And that's where the Democrat Party is today.
We're speaking to Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma. Senator, how do you address when a constituent comes up to you, and I'm sure you're getting this, maybe not necessarily in person, but you're certainly getting emails, calls to your office, because there are some people who are 3-time Trump voters. We got some calls and emails from them today who are all on board on the agenda, but they're saying Cuba, Venezuela, Iran, this stuff doesn't look like America first to me. What's your response to them?
Yeah, so I'll break that down for you. Let's look at Venezuela. Venezuela is American first because Venezuela was allowing drug cartels to poison our streets, kill our family members, kill our friends, and destroy our towns and our cities. Because Venezuela became the number one hub for drug exports into the United States. We tried to get them to stop. It wasn't that we were trying to run the country. We just wanted them to quit allowing the cartels to be able to use their ports to ship drugs into the United States. That does affect us directly. It affects everybody. Every one of your listeners, including you and I talking, we know somebody that's been affected by fentanyl and the drug overdoses, because we lost more people last year alone to drug overdoses than we did in the entire Vietnam War for American personnel. And so that's the first one on Venezuela. Cuba has been a constant staging ground for Russia and now China. It's 90 miles off the coast of Florida. It is a huge threat to us, and it can create complete destabilization. We saw it during the Cuban crisis, missile crisis, and how what happened to the United States. The president is laser focused on our hemisphere. He's not really interested in the rest of the hemispheres unless it happens to us. He pulled the resources to protect our hemisphere, which is why he secured the border. Securing our border is the same thing as securing our hemisphere, because the overflow coming to Cuba could be dangerous. So securing our border and Cuba in that hemisphere is important. When you start looking at Iran, let's just see what's happening right now with the shipping lanes. We've seen oil surge at the highest, quicker than it has in recent years. It jumped up an average of 11 cents. You've seen the shipping lanes that have been closed because insurance companies won't allow shipping to go through the Suez Canal, which in the straits and through the canal, 20% of the world's oil flows. And the destabilization that can take place, because we are in a world economy. Regardless if people think we are or not, our economy is tied to the world, which is why the dollar is the number one currency around the world. And what happens in that region is very important. With Iran becoming a nuclear power, they would destabilize that entire area. And at any given time, they could threaten to shoot a nuke, and they could shut down those shipping lanes and cause extreme volatility in our economy. And there's no way to get around it, because their ability to reach out so far, they had missiles that could reach all of our assets. And if you just want to know how important that area is, look at how many bases that we have just in that immediate region, because of how important it is to the United States economy and our interest. And then our allies all the way into Europe, and they were trying to get a nuclear weapon that fit the United States. That if we didn't deal with them now, dealing with a nuclear Iran would have been a much worse issue, and it would have destabilized our economy, not for weeks, but destabilized it for years or maybe decades, because we may not have had another president with a backbone that President Trump did. Remember, 7 presidents passed on a problem they knew they were going to deal with at some point.
All this is very serious, but I'm sure you saw the video of Secretary of War Pete Hegseth bench pressing 315 pounds.
Yeah,
now,
I called him out on that.
Yeah, okay, so did Buck. So we're gonna put you. I want to hear what you bench, because I remember I saw the video of you doing the pull ups and the push ups, and then I remember the crazy video where you did like a mile worth of lunges, which is one of the most insane things I've ever seen anybody do. Did you see that video, Buck?
I think Clay might have said that guy's a freak of nature or something along those lines.
I mean, a mile of lunges is my personal hell. I think that's like the Bataan Death March for me. If you maybe do do you think the 315 was legit?
If 315 is very respectable, listen, anyone that can do 225 is very respectable. I have a ridiculous bench. I do reps to 315. So my max is probably, I haven't maxed in a while. Last time I maxed is 405. But
what do you weigh? Like 225?
No, I weigh this morning I weighed 187.
Holy. So how many reps are you doing on 315?
I do reps of 5 with 315. Yeah.
All right. So
do you think our Secretary of War is maybe rocking a little TRT? I'm just throwing it out there.
Listen, whatever he's rocking, it's working. And,
all right.
And I told him, I called him and I said, we're friends, so I called him Pete, but all due respect, Secretary Hegseth. But I said, hey, brother, I'm telling you, good job. I mean, the way those men and women around you started getting so excited, the Secretary of War, I mean, when was the last time the Secretary of War even walked into a gym like that, much less throw up 315? He's pretty excited. But I told him, I said, but listen, I do reps with that. And he says, I knew you were going to call me.
I do think that getting guys in the gym to bench weight is a good idea, to use free weights in general. Let me ask you this. Who is the strongest Democrat? Like, if we had a bench off right now in Congress, how many Democrats can even do 225 now?
I don't. Maybe Jimmy Panetta.
There's not
what
many,
about
right?
the guy who pulled Jamal Bowman, the fire alarm guy?
Well, he's out now. He was a strong dude.
Oh, he's out. Okay.
That guy couldn't do 10 push-ups. I'd say maybe Jimmy Panetta. There's not a senator. I know that. But Jimmy, I think, could do 225. I've seen him in the gym. He works out with me every now and then. Josh Guttheimer, I give him a hard time because, I mean, he may be able to bench 225, but it's only like a 18-inch travel. And so, by the way, he's a really good friend of mine, so I can make fun of him. But I don't know. I mean, it's not. We've been kind of blessed, and I mean that our party has, have elected some young people. I mean, I tell you who another person is a freak of nature is Tim Sheehy. I mean, that guy's stout as an ox too. He can throw up some serious weight.
But it is. I mean, it's fun to talk about, but isn't being physically fit, or at least attempting to put in the time to do it, for men in particular, a good message to be sending?
I think it's good for everybody. I think it's mental more. For me, it's mental health, right? It's my morning cup of coffee. I get up and go after it. But it's also self-confidence. Like, I don't have to go out there and prove myself to anybody. I don't have to go in there and try to mix words with you, even though I will. The truth is, when I'm walking around, I feel confident. And I can handle my situation that comes in. And so it's like some things that happen around here occasionally. You have protests that happens and people they literally say, I fear for my life. I fear for my life. And I think if you have a little bit of self-confidence about you and you realize that you can handle things, you don't have to walk into a situation. But if a situation happens, you feel confident enough to be able to handle yourself.
I know but come back to this because I bet I should have asked you about this earlier. SAVE Act. We got a quick turn here, but how optimistic are you of anything happening with it?
I think we vote on it in the next week or two. I've been expecting it to come up, and I think it would already came up if we didn't have this DHS issue we're dealing with. The SAVE Act we'll get over 50 votes on it. I just don't know where it's at. I don't know how many votes we'll get on it, but we'll get over 50. We won't hit 60. Then the question is what do you do with it? People talk about the talking filibuster. The talking filibuster, Mike Lee and I we have had a lot of conversations. And Mike Lee's, man, he's brilliant. But the way that I understand it, talking to parliamentary, and the reason why this hasn't happened is because in the last 100 years, the reason why we haven't done it in the last 100 years is because you basically secede the floor to the Democrats when you do this. And at any given time, 2:00 in the morning, as they're doing their speeches, they can call a quorum call if a quorum's not present. So the Republicans have to be on the floor to answer the quorum call, or they start their debate time all over again. And every time they call up an amendment, it's like a filibuster that has no end time, like a filibuster, or not a filibuster, but a vote-a-rama, meaning that every senator can talk 2 times on any issue, and they can continue to bring up the issues, which you could at that time, completely poison the SAVE Act. For instance, it doesn't have to be germane. Since it doesn't have to be germane, because of the way the talking filibuster is, every amendment is a 51-vote threshold. So just think if we get into Roe v. Wade, the whole abortion issue again. there could be some real consequential votes that take place on that, because now you're only hitting 51.
Senator Mullen, we got to leave it. We got to leave it there. We're at time. Thank you so much from Oklahoma. Great to have you, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you. Fast Growing Trees is America's largest, most trusted online nursery. Save yourself a trip to the nursery or send someone the gift of green with Fast Growing Trees. It's not just trees. They deliver shrubs, indoor plants, supplies, you name it, right to your front door, healthy and ready to grow. They have over 2 million happy customers, and that number is growing fast. One of our VIPs, Mike from Tulsa, Oklahoma, is growing mangoes indoors thanks to Fast Growing Trees. That's very cool. Fast Growing Trees is America's largest, most trusted online nursery. Save yourself a trip to the nursery or send someone the gift of green with Fast Growing Trees. It's not just trees. They deliver shrubs, indoor plants, supplies, you name it, right to your front door, healthy and ready to grow.
No one knows what the future holds, but you deserve a weather app that can help. WeatherBug is easy to use and provides forecasts for your every need, from storm warnings to pollen levels, right at your fingertips. Get the fastest local alerts and comprehensive 10-day forecasts wherever you are. Its hyper-local, real-time customizable alerts make sure the weather never takes you by surprise, so you can plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store today and start getting accurate weather forecasts 24/7.
Welcome back in, Clay, Travis, Buck Sexton show. I want to help some of you to the extent, was it Monday we got calls from some of our Talkback listeners who were stuck in Israel? I know some of you listen from all around the world and you have friends and family that might have been in the Middle East. Let me hit you with this. The State Department is actively getting military aircraft and charter flights for American citizens who need to get out of the Middle East. I know, for instance, I had some friends that had a daughter who was studying in the Middle East, and she and her classmates were stuck there. Let me give you this, and if you have friends and family, let me give you this contact, because Dylan Johnson at the State Department just shared this. There are nearly 3,000 Americans right now that they know of in the Middle East who are trying to get out of there as the war is going on. So if you got pens, paper, let me help you with this. American citizens should call 202-501-4444 for assistance with departure options. They are getting, again, charter flights, jets. They are getting people out. So if you have friends or family and you've been worried about them, maybe they don't have great cell phone reception, the phone number is 202-501-4444. That is what they should call. Obviously, the country code is 1. So 1-202-501-4444 if you are trying to get your friends or family out of the Middle East. We had several of you that have reached out to us that were stuck over there, and hopefully you will be able to get some help there. Buck, you can well imagine when I'm just scrolling through to check news, I did not expect for one of the most devastating haymakers to be thrown by your wife in response to your assault on her Costco habit. This is, if you need a little bit of a laugh, you had, do you want to share what your request for assistance was, and then what your lovely wife's response was?
I may have been carting, and I do mean carting like I was a longshoreman or something, like I was a stevedore. I was moving large boxes, even late last night, from the back of my vehicle, all courtesy of the great deals at Costco. And
my favorite place to shop.
I was just wondering aloud. I said, is there some kind of 12-step program for wives who have a Costco addiction? I was just curious in case someone might need that help. Someone might need that information. And then I see, making all kinds of assumptions, my own beautiful wife suggesting that it is my addiction to Pellegrino, in fact, large glass bottles, cases of Pellegrino, that is the cause of these Costco runs. And I just want to say, scurrilous accusation. Yes, I drink a lot of Pellegrino, but I have nothing more to say on the matter.
I gotta say this. When did it become standard that you don't just get normal water? because of people like you with all the sparkling waters and everything else. I don't remember like 2 years ago or something, all of a sudden you get asked now when you're at restaurants, and it's not just me going to fancier restaurants, because this happens at not very fancy places, where they now come and instead of just giving you standard water, they now give you all sorts of Pellegrino and everything else. Has there been a surge in Pellegrino drinking in general, do you think?
Yes.
Or is this in my imagination?
No, I think that's real, actually. Yeah, I know. I think you were assuming you were being a little supercilious, but I think that what's really gone on is that the drinking habits of especially younger people have changed pretty dramatically. People are drinking a lot less alcohol, and for a lot of restaurants, that's really where the margin is. That's really where they make their money.
So you think they're trying to make their money now on upgrading off of regular water, because that's an interesting angle.
I will tell you, I actually feel a little guilty if I don't at least get, like I was at a dinner for 6 or 7 people on Sunday. We must have gone through, I'm just going to admit this on the radio, I guess, 8 bottles, maybe 10 bottles of Pellegrino, and I think they charge us, $8 or $10 a bottle. So, you're adding, let's say you're adding $80, $100 onto the bill for water.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that for a lot of people, you'd be saying, well, that's egregious. Yeah, but none of us are drinking. I was with a table full of adults, none of whom were drinking booze. And so the restaurant really wants you. There's a reason why there are wine glasses on the table when you sit down. There are reasons why they always hand you a wine list when you sit down.
Oh, yeah.
If you're Clay, you just order your Natty Light, and they have to kind of scurry around back to be like, what is this? He drinks natural light beer? Like, what is that? But for a lot of people, Clay, they go to the wine list, and that is how these places make their money. So I think that now water, I don't want them pushing booze on me if I don't want it. So I'm happy to be upcharged for water, and I think I'm not the only one. This is happening more and more.
It is something, I think you're right. I think it is that they're not consuming as much alcohol. Profit margins in restaurants are slim, and so they're now upcharging basically water, and a lot of people are doing it. I thought about you, by the way. I was at church on Sunday, and they did they brought around the wine and the bread, and on the screen it said it's gluten free. I've never seen this before. If you were doing the Lord's Supper, if you were taking it, it said on the big screen there, hey, this is gluten free. Now I was thinking you must have a really bad gluten allergy if, a shot of grape juice and a tiny pinprick of bread is going to break your world. But I did notice that. Here's another bit of news. People want something positive. I bought a Tesla, Buck, partly because I think Elon Musk had been unfairly attacked. And so I've got teenage boys, and I want a super safe car. And we went and I did they let you just kind of drive around, and you can see the autonomous driving of a Tesla vehicle. You can just legitimately go in. They don't even have somebody sit with you. They let you go out, and you can just ride around. You pick a place, you type it in. I'm in the future now, Buck. This morning, I took my 15-year-old to school. I typed in his school address. It's super early in the morning because he's lifting with the lacrosse team, football team. They have to be there early in the morning. And so I just typed it in. I let the car drive us to and from his school to drop him off. I'm going to make a prediction here. Team, you can flag it. I think the days of people driving cars are rapidly vanishing. I think that if you have a baby right now, like my assistant Katie has a baby girl that she brings to the house most days, I think her baby girl will not drive cars. Like, I think if you have a 1-2-year-old, you may still teach them how to drive a car, but it's going to become like riding a horse. I think autonomous vehicles are going to be everywhere, certainly within a generation. It's the biggest change in terms of day to day that I have seen that I'm convinced is going to happen.
I got to tell you what's going to happen in my mind. The shift that is coming here is that it will go from oh, I don't know, I'm nervous about the autonomous driving, to as more and more people do it and the data sets get larger and larger, it will be considered dangerous to self-drive at some point in the future. Or I should say more dangerous. I'm not saying it's so dangerous people don't do it, but the conventional wisdom will be, well, auto drive is way safer than, and really you should only be self-driving if you're off-roading or you're doing it for some form of sport or fun, or you're tracking your car, but just getting around on the highway, because it's going to become a function of zeros and ones. There's going to be programs, there's going to be data, and the data is going to show you are way safer, because you know what a self-driving car doesn't do? It doesn't look down at its cell phone to check out the latest sports scores.
Guilty. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think it's going to be transformative. It's going to drive down insurance costs. I think one way it's going to move towards autonomous is the data is going to reflect that if you are driving yourself, your likelihood of being in an accident is much higher. I also think this is something that's very positive. I think if you're elderly and you are listening to us right now, and maybe you're nervous about driving after dark, maybe you just get nervous because you're going to the grocery store and things like that, and you are 80 plus, let's say, I think it's going to allow people to continue to live in their homes for longer, because you're going to get in your car, you're going to program it in. I also think, Buck, drunk driving. I think drunk driving is basically going to vanish, because you can either, obviously Ubers are going to exist and everything else, in cabs, and those are good choices. But I think we're going to get to a point where you can get in your car and it will just take you home, and you are not operating it at all.
You know what Elon's vision is, right? That your car that you have now is going to be a car that effectively replaces Uber's, as in you're not using it. That car can make you money and go around and take other people wherever they need to go. And then when you need the car, it comes back to you. Think about this. I mean, the increases in productivity that are going to happen as a result of this, it's going to be remarkable. And I say this, you got two guys here who, I know a lot of you try to take our man cards away on this, but you see, we're honest with you. We don't pretend. We're not like, oh, I like to take a sprocket out of the carburetor and get all the grease on my hands. I don't know anything. All right. I don't know anything. I get into a car. If I push that pedal and it doesn't go vroom, vroom and start going, I have no idea what is happening. I know nothing about cars. I want to be in like a big comfy seat that's giving me like a back rub basically, while I can fall asleep and be taken anywhere. I have no interest in sitting there, fighting through traffic, doing all this stuff. I hate all that. Clay's with me on this one. So
I would rather work. Here's the other thing, Buck. The charging, I thought it was going to be complicated. My charger plugs into the wall in our garage like a cell phone charger. And by the way, I'm not getting paid anything. One of the most ridiculous things about 5 years of this show that Buck and I have done together, am I correct, Buck? I don't think we've ever made $1 in car advertisements.
Not that I'm aware of.
Legitimately, in 5 years, we haven't been paid a single dollar to tell you, hey, go buy this car. So I'm not getting paid anything at all, just because inevitably people are going to be like, oh, how much is Elon paying you? Nothing. It's amazing. I feel like I'm in the future. I was not an e-vehicle guy, but my car is charging in my garage right now. It's basically plugged in like it's a cell phone. And the self-driving vehicle aspect of this, the car, by the way, let me say this too. Cars are super expensive. You can get, I'll tell you exactly what I paid. I got a Model 3, and I got a couple of different upgrades on it. It was $50,000, okay? And they have 1% interest for 7 years. So I think I put down $6,000 for a brand new car that is as nice of a car as is out there. Very affordable. And I can pay it off over 7 years for basically no interest. So this is not like, some people are going to say, oh, you've got tons of money. This is a rich person thing. This is actually one of the most affordable cars on the market.
So this is also, though, where we have to have Clay speak honestly with all of you, because you can pick your autonomous driving style, if you will. And for example, I would like gentle
driving Miss Daisy style
mode.
Yes,
of
they call it
course.
sloth.
I want nice. I want no herky jerky. I want to get there safely. Clay likes Mad Max mode, which is surprising to no person who has ever been in a vehicle with Clay Travis.
It is the fastest mode that they offer, Mad Max. They actually have a sloth, and I was sitting there doing the self-drive, and I was like, what are we doing? Go, go, go. So I've already gone up to the Mad Max speed on the self-drive. Not going to let the kids get there. But for me, it's pretty incredible. So I don't know how many of you have Teslas. I never really had spent that much time on it, but I'm all in on autonomous vehicles. I've taken the Waymos. I've done all this. I'm telling you, your grandkids' lives, they're going to look at you when you talk about driving a car like you might have back in the day when suddenly grandma and grandpa gave up the horse and they got the new car. New Model T was out in the road and somebody was saying, what's this horseless carriage? This is ridiculous. Well, I'm telling you, the fact that we drove cars is going to seem crazy to your grandkids. Prize Picks available in all 50 states, including California, Texas, Florida, Georgia, everywhere. All 50 states. We got March Madness. We're officially into March. Many of the different conference basketball tournaments have started for college basketball. Major League Baseball not very far away. I believe March 26th is opening day for Major League Baseball. Super easy app. You pick more or less from your different athletes out there, and 2 or more of those athletes. You can go all the way up to 6. You can play $5. You can win a bundle, but when you play $5, you get $50 deposited in your account. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com, use my name Clay for $50 deposited in your account. Win or lose, $50 in lineups when you play $5 in all 50 states. Prizepicks.com, code Clay. That's prizepicks.com, code CLAY.
News you can count on and some laughs too. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
No one knows what the future holds, but you deserve a weather app that can help. WeatherBug is easy to use and provides forecasts for your every need, from storm warnings to pollen levels, right at your fingertips. Get the fastest local alerts and comprehensive 10-day forecasts wherever you are. Its hyper-local, real-time customizable alerts make sure the weather never takes you by surprise, so you can plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store today and start getting accurate weather forecasts 24/7.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.